sits with you over there.
We're trying to be closer to the door, but we're going to get the door locked. We called Chief Broussard to come over and guard that door. We are going to call this EDC meeting to order for May 28th at 6 o'clock. Now we're going to start out with our invocation pledge and roll call. Invocation is going to be done by Mr. LB. And pledge is going to be Heidi and Mr. Brent McWaters.
Everyone can stand and please bow your heads and close your eyes. Oh, Heavenly Father, we come to you right now. Thank you for all things that you've done in our lives, Lord God. We ask you to watch over this great city, Lord, and we ask you to watch over all members of each and every Lord, that you guide their mind in the right direction, Lord God. Lord, we thank you for all things that you've done for Cleveland and moving Cleveland in the right direction and moving us forward, Lord God. We thank you for all the forward progress that we've been having lately, and we thank you for the great minds working together to get it done. And we thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Flag, I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
And there we are. Just a reminder with our current AV system, if we'll have our mic on and close, will help. Will definitely help everybody in the viewing audience and on TV. We have all the way to my far left, your far right, we have Darrington Baldwin. Next to him, we have Heidi Souls. Next to Heidi, we have the new City Council member, Mr. Brent McWaters. And then to my immediate left, we have the new director, Emilio Navarro. To my right is our awesome secretary, Alice Rios. To her right is our current treasurer, Chuck Thompson. To his right is also our new City Council member, Rachel Hall. And then the infamous and famous on the very end is Mike Butler. Number 2, public comments. Any person with EDC-related business may speak to the board. In compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the EDC board may not discuss or vote on any matter raised in public comments unless it is specifically on the agenda. Speakers may address the board after being recognized by the presiding officers. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes as always. Barbara Nevis with the SBA.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. So I represent the Small Business Administration Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience.
Is that mic on? Hang on one second.
Yeah. So here, I'll just
There we go.
Hello.
That's better.
Hello
And you can
everyone.
pull that down towards you. There you go.
So I represent the U.S. Small Business Administration Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. My name is Barbara Nitis. I'm a Public Information Officer. So I'm here due to the presidential declaration that happened on April 26th and continuing. There is a center, we're here with FEMA as well as SBA, as you know, and to help out with, as far as SBA, we help out homeowners, renters, businesses, and nonprofit organizations, including churches. who had for the flooding, severe storms, tornadoes, and straight line winds. That is the incident period as well as the disaster. So for home loans, there are going to be 2 different applications for home loans per business, so everybody knows. If they have damage to their home loan, it's up to $500,000 for repair based on their home, physical damage, as well as personal property, anything that's inside the home, and the primary car is up to $100,000. For renters, they can get the $100,000 for personal property and that primary car. For businesses, it's up to $2 million for real estate, machinery, equipment, inventory, anything that was affected during the disaster, and an economic injury disaster when you were closed or suffered any type of economic loss. This is really to help keep you afloat. And that's also for the nonprofits, the same thing. It's up to $2 million for physical damage, and then the economic injury disaster loan, that working capital loan. They're up to 30 years. It's really to help recover, build, and recover. And there's a 12-month deferment from the date of your first disbursement. So you have a 12-month with 0% interest, no accrual. So it's really to help you. At least a lot of people just use those funds and the insurance. They don't have to wait for their insurance. They use that to pay off their loan, or as far as anything that they have, they can use that as far as that. But also for these loans, there is a refinance option. If you have a previous mortgage, you can get the low interest rates for home loans as low as 2.68%, for business as low as 4%, and for nonprofits as low as 3.25%. There is a relocation if you are in a flood zone area, you have that option as well. So there's plenty of, and also there's additional funds for mitigation. So that's really to prevent not just flooding, it could be fire, anything that you can think as far as all the hazards. This additional funds up to 20% of the total damage. So this is really beneficial to everybody. The loan is, at the end of the day, is an option. They're not obligated to accept it. It's really a backup for them. They can just look at, reevaluate at the end of the day and say they can go back into it as long as they apply during that deadline, which is July 16th is the deadline for physical damage loans, and then economic injury is February 18th of next year. But since we are here, they're at the Liberty. At the Jack Cartel building. I don't know if you know that. I can give you the exact address. It's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Sunday. FEMA's there, SBA's there, as well as nonprofits to help out everyone with that one-on-one assistance if they have issues applying online. But people in the meantime if they can't make it to the center, they can apply on lending.sba.gov. There is a 1-800 number, which is 1-800-659-2955. And they can ask for the preferred language as far as Spanish or anything like that. But we do have Spanish, customer service representatives to accommodate everybody as far as that. Let me tell you exactly the address. So it's 318 San Jacinto Street in Liberty, Texas. So that's what I tell you. As far as that, that's all I have. And I will always give you updates on what's going on. And thank you for having me. Appreciate it all.
Thank you, Dan. We greatly appreciate your time.
Yeah, I have a quick question. As far as this, if somebody's interested, is there like closing costs, any fees or anything? Or
No, not from the SBA, no.
Okay. You're just going to make it in case somebody asks.
I told you, Scott. I told you.
So, and it's for the uninsured and underinsured losses. So it's really key. So you got underinsured.
And then I noticed the number and I don't see the number or the email address on it. Do you have something, literature that has that?
Yeah, it has on the second page.
On the second page?
It went to the second page on the other.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't get that far.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's just because we keep getting ahead of counties, so that's the reason. Go ahead to the second page.
Okay.
But I'll send it to you also digitally, so you can get spread the word, and also the FEMA press release, which indicates SBA in there, so to do the hours, everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate it. Good information. Number 3, new business spotlight in the Cleveland area. Do we have any new business spotlights? No? So number 4, reports and comments from our board members. Which way do you want to start? How about LB? You want to start down there, LB?
Sure. First of all, I want to say a big shout out to the first responders for all they've done for these past couple of weeks with the city of Cleveland. Definitely helping out the people from the north to the south of Cleveland. A big help. Thank y'all for that. Also, too, I noticed just right around the city lately, we've got a lot of different projects, a lot of different things happening. It's good to see everybody working together. Good to see the Cleveland is moving forward and making forward progress. So thank you.
Ms. Heidi Souls.
Just to kind of echo what LB said, thank you to all of our first responders and everyone who assisted all the people who are recovering from the flood.
Mr. Brent.
Probably a common theme throughout these whole public comments. And rightfully so, you know, our first responders, our public works, y'all have put in a lot of time, you know, out there helping folks as we go through these disasters. And yes, a big shout out, thank you for that. And I'm excited about kind of what we're doing in the city. There's a lot of things that are happening, a lot of things coming in to help with some of the things that you see kind of what people want help with around the city. We got some of those resources coming. So it's just exciting where we're at, and we'll continue down this path.
Mr. Mike Buckley, you got anything for us?
Same thing as one, say thank you to our first responders and also to the city. I know they had to help out a lot with that also. Takes out for finally cleaning up and getting the water drainage flowing over on Washington Avenue. I'm sure the city probably appreciates that also. Yeah, I just want to apologize for missing last meeting. Unfortunately, I was really sick and I couldn't make it. That's it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Ms. Rachel Hall.
Yes, I would like to congratulate all of our graduating seniors in Cleveland as well as in Splendora within our city limits and Tarkington and all of the surrounding communities. We had hundreds and hundreds of children graduate with their high school diploma or degrees with early college programs that are local, so that's a great opportunity. So congratulations to them all, and thank you to the support from the community. They had a little parade for our Cleveland seniors, and so that was great to see those who turned out to support the kids heading down to their ceremony. I would also like to thank the first responders and those in the city for their work during the floods, as well as we had many outside organizations come in and support our city, many nonprofits that should be named. If I had a list, I would take the time to name them all, but I know there's several more than just the Red Cross, but we appreciate them too and the housing that they provided to those who lost their homes. So thank you to all of the many organizations who came in to help and have continued to promise to come back and build relationships with Cleveland and are still looking for ways right now to help, as well as organizations locally like the Lions Club and Rotary that are still in the process of trying to provide for needs of those who lost things in the floods. So thank you to all of those out there, the community helpers that are often forgotten. We see you and we thank you.
Mr. Chuck.
I'll echo the thanks to all the first responders, and I'll also go and say congratulations to the new city council, Rachel, and to Brent. Congratulations, guys.
Alice, do you got anything? Myself, I'm going to echo just everything else, but congratulations to Brent and Rachel on their new city council positions. We appreciate all of the citizens that got out and voted. You got to vote to make a difference, and they did, and we appreciate that very much. I want to thank Pam, Tiffany, Danielle, and Emilio for all the things they do. They are always at our beck and call, believe it or not. If we have any questions, they'll answer it. And we really, really do appreciate that for sure. Of course, Roger and his team, I can't thank them enough. They are always doing stuff for us. They take care of us at the airport all the time. They've done a great job on the pavilion. We appreciate everybody coming out to the ribbon cutting at the pavilion today. They've done a great job there. We still have a little bit more to do. And he's already on top of that, already talking about what else we have to do and how to do it and where to get the money and all that good stuff. So he's doing a great job all the way around, and we really do appreciate it. Like always, Roger. We had an airport fly-in here a few weeks ago. The fly-in went great. Scott even got his kids out there to go fly around, and it really did go good. It was just a rotation like crazy of all the kids out there getting to go fly and make their first flights and their discovery flights. And it really was rewarding all the way around. Roger, it's kind of funny, Brent mentioned how much Roger works and how much Public Works does and all that. I was flying over Roger's house the other day myself. And Roger, I called him from the air and said, hey, step outside. He stepped outside, and he even had his fire truck there in front of his house, on call, just waiting to go somewhere. And we really do appreciate that, Roger. Again, thanks to, congratulations to Brent and Rachel. That's awesome. Anything else? Director's report, number 5. Oh, also real quick, I do want to thank and introduce y'all to Emilio, who's our new director. He's got a extensive background in developmental services and EDC. He's came in, got his feet wet. I say got his feet wet. We just threw him into the deep end of the pool, to be brutally honest. And he's done it. He's stepping forward with it, taking the reins, and we're excited to see where we're going to go and what's up next. And so this is his first director's report with us. No pressure whatsoever.
Can you hear me? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. President and board. It's a pleasure to be with y'all. Finally, be able to interact. I was at the last board meeting, but wasn't on staff yet, so I couldn't interact with you all. But it's different now. But it's a pleasure to be with you all. Just jumping into the director's report, some updates on some projects and initiatives that were already kind of in the works. Starting off with wayfinding and signage project, we had a productive kickoff call with the N2L team that is assisting us with that master plan for the wayfinding and signage for the city. A lot of good efforts came out of that. We're looking at how some other related initiatives are going to impact that timeline, so I don't have a tentative real kickoff date for you, other than it's going to be imminent sometime in the summer, but more to come on that. I hope to provide you with a solid date on the next director report. Again, to echo some of the sentiments about the pavilion and ribbon cutting today, thank you all for being in attendance and for y'all support for that initiative. Still a little more to do in terms of lighting in the area and some other improvements, like drainage and things like that. But overall, a fantastic project and great outcome. So we appreciate Public Works and their efforts on that, and for Danielle and her assistance in getting that project to the finish line. Skate park update. The update this morning, coordinating with Public Works, is that due to some inclement weather that's been occurring in the area, the contractor selected for that project has experienced some delays on some other jobs, and so there is a delay. They were supposed to start on that, I believe, last week, but obviously with the weather, they have to delay that start. So I'll be updating you on hopefully via email whenever we're able to initiate that project soon. So more to come on that. Belcher Street apartment abatement in terms of the substandard demolition. Council did award a declaration to abate that property should the property owner not voluntarily engage in demolition. I believe their due date is August 1st, so we'll be looking forward to that progress. If not, the city will step in and do its part to abate that issue there. Buzzy B updated. I think the improvements are coming along and near completion, and so we're looking to hopefully accept those improvements as public improvements and then facilitate the reimbursement with the developer. But a really good project there. I wanted to jump into some housekeeping things. As you know, the concern from last meeting was how to facilitate RSVPs and reservations, interested parties attending the chamber luncheons. So we have some ideas. We're going to be rolling that out to y'all, but I want to give you a heads up. It's a bit of like an online form, job form if you've ever heard of it, but pretty succinct required fields that you fill out, and that'll record your RSVP, and then if you have a guest or something that you'd like to possibly invite, we'll evaluate that on a case-by-case basis and ensure that really the only thing that we're looking for is to ensure that we have adequate provisions for them in terms of having them be an invited guest and making sure there's available space. So we'll be rolling that out later this week via email. If you have any questions, just feel free to call me or respond to the email, and appreciate your feedback on that. I think Brandon was here with our IT department. I think he's still around. If you have any issues with configuring your Outlook, your email on the phone, please let me know and we can get him to assist you with that.
No, I was just gonna say, Brandon said come tomorrow, anybody have any issues with the email, to show about 4:45 to 5:15 tomorrow, and you can help me out the issue.
There we go. But yeah, so once those emails are implemented, we'll direct all EDC email communications to that email. And we'll drop off the personal emails. If we could, the EDC expressed an interest in attending or having a visit to the BNSF site. So we've scheduled a tour with the project team out there to occur on June 5th. If I can get a head count of anyone who's available that day. They're pretty flexible, so I think we need to determine if it's better in the morning, in the afternoon, or the evening. And just kind of looking for critical mass on that. So
I think everybody had already discussed that, didn't we, Brent, on late afternoon?
late afternoon,
June 5th.
June 5th.
And I think we'd already settled that we wanted that later in the evening. Wasn't it, or what's everybody's feedback on that real quick?
That's why. Yeah.
So what do we, let's figure out what's later in the evening, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, stays late till 8 now, so give me an idea, what do we want to do?
Yeah, I think we discussed 5 to 6 o'clock, whatever was available in there.
That work with y'all down there, Rachel? No? That work, 5 to 6?
We'll move forward with 5 to 6. And if I could just get like a show of hands on who's available generally.
Rachel's checking her calendar. We good? We're not hard.
Okay, all right. Then June 5th at 5 p.m. and we'll send out those details to those that are able to attend. It's between 5 and 6. So. All right. And then last, I think it occurred kind of that weekend of the last meeting, but the Clean Up Cleveland event, I believe there's a couple of board members in attendance that volunteered out for that event. So I just want to appreciate y'all and thank you for attending that. And that concludes the director's report.
We have any questions at all for our new director?
Yeah, I have one. Just curious, I know you just started, so it's going to be, just be curious, have you been able to reach out to any new businesses that are looking into the Cleveland area?
So I think we'll get into that a little bit of the budget discussion. I think that's kind of a broad kind of ask there. So I think we need to have a better strategy to kind of inform who we're targeting in terms of new business. I think there's obviously a scale of that from small business to large corporations or industries. So yes, that's obviously part of our approach and our strategy, but I think we need to better drill down into who to chase, or else it's kind of just be like a shotgun approach to that. So, I've reached out to some developers that are kind of specialized in the industry, kind of warehousing type of projects. Maybe they'd be compatible for BNSF. So that's the kind of businesses I've engaged so far.
Anyone else? LB? No. You're good? Everybody's good? Number 6, public hearing will consider the following item, and this is the public hearing portion. Is the EDC budget amendment for the council chambers audio-visual system upgrades. Do we have anyone that is wanting to speak other than on the board? Anybody want to speak about the budget amendment for the chamber audio-visual system? That concludes the public hearing for the budget amendment for the council chambers audio-visual system. Consideration of possible action on 7 is meeting minutes for April 22nd, 2024. 8 is monthly financial statement, and 9 is the quarterly investment reports. Any motions?
Make a motion that we accept. Make a motion that we accept meeting items 7, 8, and 9 on the consent agenda.
And I second the motion to recess the agenda from item 7 to
I have a motion by Brent McWaters and a second by LB that we accept the consent agenda for 7, 8, 9. Any questions? All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Discussion and possible consideration on row number 10, contract for Ford audio-visual for council chambers and AV system.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. President. The President was gracious enough to attend council their last regular meeting to just have a casual discussion regarding the things that y'all considered in the past in terms of audio-visual improvements with council chamber. And so out of that, we kind of wanted to bring forward and highlight the consensus coming out of that meeting. If you'll remember, there were a number of options on the table, or really at y'all's consideration, really involving 2 configurations. Option 1 was going to involve a large panel display on this wall here to our right, and then a confidence monitor just in front of y'all on that wall. But out of all that discussion, and then the second one would involve individual screens up here at the dais, and then again with the large panel screen on that wall. The consensus was that the dais monitors were preferred, but for audience viewing, if that screen were to be placed behind the dais for ease of viewing from audience and staff and visitors. No effect on cost in terms of what Ford AV their services and equipment that they would be provided under this contract, which that would be $96,100. There are other expenses associated in terms of improvements, electrical, some drywall painting that would have to happen that will facilitate with Public Works and a facilities team, and then whatever contractor is selected to do those things, whatever we can't do in-house. So that dollar amount is undetermined, but it really is outside the scope of the Ford AV contract. But again, as it's specifically stated in item 10, is for consideration of the contract with Ford AV. And so that amount is fixed, and that is with the preferred option of the City Council, and whatever y'all's consensus is $96,100.
So real quick, if y'all remember, we wanted the council's opinion, City Council's opinion on it. So we took it to City Council and gave them all the options, and their consensus across the board was option 2A. And as he said, that puts monitors, the 20-inch monitors in front of all these chairs, and then it puts the 98-inch screen, flat panel screen on this back wall. It'll go in between the 2 flags up here. We will move the seal to the wall where our projector is currently showing. And that was just the consensus of the of city council on all the options.
I have a question. Julie's made a good comment the other night about the total cost of the project, pointing out the electrical and the drywall, and you just mentioned that that was unknown because you're going to do some in-house with Public Works and then contract out the other. So that additional part of the project, is the city funding that, or is that going to come back to EDC after this contract for the $96,000 for the equipment?
Yeah, we have some, in different budgets across the city, we have some money allocated for facility improvements, so I believe we'd look to those funds before coming back to EDC at all. I can't guarantee it just because it's an unknown dollar amount, but I don't think we anticipate it.
And that's basically what we had talked about the other day, was that between Roger and funds they have available, they weren't anticipating us paying for that portion of the city's going to be with it.
With the electrical?
And just, I know we talked about the kind of viewing visual element, but this also includes some audio improvements and video improvements in terms of the cameras and the microphones and the speakers. And the streaming for Facebook and YouTube.
Or the monitors, are we gonna have new microphones set in place with those, or?
So this proposal will utilize these current existing Shure microphones, because they are in decent condition.
I thought, did you have something?
You do have 3 warranties as well.
Yes.
Yes, so, good point, thank you, Scott. So there are, to inform the $96,100, there's also warranty options that are recommended at a 2-year increment for around $5,500, and then a 3-year option for about $12,000. That could escalate the cost if that is
If
the
we want,
desire.
yeah, if we want the warranties, it's going to be an extra $55.81 and $11,925.
And on the electrical, we don't really believe it's gonna cost a whole lot of money. I mean, right, you can see where all the screens are gonna go, there's already electrical there, it just needs to be, like that one relocated from down below up to the top, so it's just a matter of moving the plug up. And so there's other power that we have available, it's gonna be hard to get to, that we're gonna try off of.
And in looking at the warranty, it looks like, they will come out, if we choose to go with either 2-year or the 3-year, they'll come out and do basically a preventative maintenance service call during the 2nd year, and just go ahead and go through the whole system from front to back. Each year we have that extended warranty, is what it read to me, along with anything that needs to be done on top of that.
So what's everybody's opinion, either the 2-year or the 3-year? What's everyone's opinion on that? What do you think, Brad?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, if something goes down with the cost of this equipment, you pay for it pretty quick if we have to replace something. So, I mean, it's $5,000 a year. There's part of me that says if it's going to break, it's going to break within the first year. I think we all are comfortable with that. But to get the assurances, spending close to $100,000 probably wouldn't be a bad idea to invest in the warranty. That is awful.
Because I wouldn't let her talk from back in the corner of the room. That's why.
I just had a question. Why is the 3-year warranty 3 times the cost of a 2-year warranty?
It's not 3 times.
Well,
Two and
it's
double.
three.
Well, I can't see.
It's combined. That's the 2 and 3 combined. It's basically $5,500 a year.
So the 3-year warranty is $11,925.
1 year comes with it. You get the 2-year, you're paying an extra $5,500. If you're getting the 3-year, you're paying an extra $1,100.
Oh, okay, we were so confused about that.
Yeah, the 1 year's gonna come
I
with
answered
it.
our
1 year,
question.
yeah.
There you go.
1 year comes with the system.
We had a group discussion and we were
So,
confused.
2 years.
Yeah, basically,
Hang on one second.
So instead of 2 years, not after the
Yeah.
first year warranty's up. Because I look at extended warranty, it's after my original warranty is up. So
You're
I paid it
100% right.
for 2 years, so for me, I was thinking it as a 2-year warranty is $5,500 after the
Yeah,
first year
that's
warranty.
how
I asked, everybody was wondering.
and but see, that's why it doesn't say 2-year warranty, it says year 2 warranty. So it's 2 years. 2 and 3. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm on page.
No, in the contract, it does say, Brenda is correct. In the contract,
It
it says
says
year 2,
warranty, 55.
year 2 warranty, and year 3 warranty in the contract itself.
Yeah.
If you go to the contract and read the contract.
Yeah, that's what I was going off of. You get a 1-year standard warranty that comes with the price, the 96.
For year 2,
For year 2,
Okay,
55.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then for year 2 and 3 is 11.9. So basically, you're paying $5,500 for year 2 and $5,500 for year 3.
Okay, y'all are welcome.
and if you remember when Ford came out and talked to us, he said that typically it's a 5-year system. But at the same time, here we are, let's decide, or do we want to do a 2-year or a 3-year is the question. Or a year 2 or year 3, whichever way you want to. Yeah, I mean, what it boils down to is 5,000, 6,000, 5,400 and whatever dollars extra. Is what we're talking about, correct?
Yeah.
So, for an extra $4,400, we're going to year 3.
Well, and yeah, that gets us, if you go and look up at this itemized price list of equipment, so
Yeah.
if something goes wrong with that TV, it more than covers the replacement for that, more than covers the replacement for several of these items if we have a problem with just one of these things. So, one way we might want to look at it.
And did we not get bids, because this is buy board, is that correct? So we just don't have to do that?
Correct.
And would it be in best interest to get quotes and save 20,000? I don't even know if that's possible, or just move forward with this specific contract?
Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's one of the benefits of using a buy board.
Because you don't have to,
It is, there's really not, that it's going to be a competitive in scope of work.
They've already bid it, right? When you do a buy board, they bid to be on those buy board programs and give you the best offer for that. Now, could you get a different system? You might. But Ford AV is one of the leading AV systems.
they're in the top 3 in the world.
Yeah, I mean, they're top notch, and so you can ask Ashley. She didn't get an Ford AV system, and she had lots of problems with the system we have at the city center. I mean, if you don't have a good AV system, yeah.
What system do we have now?
We have
I'm
Avid.
not here. I'm just curious, that's why I'm asking.
We have a camcorder in the back.
That's why I'm asking. What system do we have right now?
It's not, it's a camcorder.
That's what I'm asking, because trying to compare it to what we're getting to what we have.
Oh.
It's night and day.
You know, that's-
We're going to be able to live stream, we're going to be able to do everything.
What's nice is the 4K camera that's going to be back there for the dais, and I can't remember, were you here when they were going through some of the? Yeah, so what's really neat is it allows us to live stream to multiple platforms, but not only with the screens up here, but the cameras that are going to be available, will tie straight into and be able to go, we'll have 4K resolution on the dais, but it also has joystick controls to where it can go to do stalking. We'll have a camera that will actually point to the actual podium, so the functionality is night and day compared to what we have now.
Makes a big difference.
I'd like to make a motion that we contract with Ford AV for the council chamber AV system, included the 3-year warranty.
I second that motion.
I have a motion by Brent McWaters and a second by Heidi Souls to go forward with the 2A option with the 3 years. Any other questions?
If this is not in our current budget, does that have to include where you're getting the money from, like we did with the skate park?
We have the next topic is the budget amendment.
Okay.
Yeah, the next topic is the budget amendment for this. So right now, we're just approving it, and then the budget amendment's the next that we could approve. Okay, no other questions, all in favor? Motion passes. Number 11. Number 11 is the EDC budget amendment for the council chamber AV system upgrades. Have any motions?
Make a motion, we approve the budget amendment for council chamber AV system upgrades.
I second that motion.
So I have a motion by Brent McWaters, another second by Heidi to do the EDC budget amendment for council chamber audio-visual system upgrades. Any questions? All in favor? Motion passes unanimously. 12 is the Leadership East Texas Board. What this is about is Leadership East Texas has a position for the EDC, for an EDC representative to be on the Leadership East Texas Board. So we need to nominate somebody to be on the Leadership East Texas Board from our EDC.
I nominate Chuck Thompson.
A nomination for Chuck.
I'll second.
And I have a second. So I have a nomination by Heidi Souls and a second by Brent McWaters. Are you good with that, Chuck?
Yeah.
That makes it simple and easy. All in favor? Congratulations, I hope, Chuck.
Just a sidebar on the audio visual. Is everybody really comfortable with 4K resolution? I don't know about you guys, but I'll maybe sit back a little bit or hide back. Anyway, just a little sidebar there.
That's better than the half K we got now.
Well, it's true. No, I'm sure they want to see my
Your wife might want to watch now. You might talk her into it. We just had this conversation in the pavilion.
Exactly.
Was it your sister-in-law now too, right?
Yeah. I'm getting it hard this week. It's going to be ugly before the end of the week. That bird is going to be coming out tonight. It's supposed to
Number 13 is the budget workshop. I'm guessing that's what Danielle's doing. Also, I want to mention again, just real quick, folks, that if we do have any budget questions or anything like that, money questions, Pam has always made herself and Tiffany available to us, and I would really like to see them utilized. If you have any questions, I'd like to have people answer those questions, ask those questions for them to where we get our answers prior to coming here. Would always be convenient.
Yes, and you can ask the questions in the meeting again, but just asking them in advance gives me a chance to do the research.
That's my point. And we definitely appreciate that. And yes, Chuck has. Chuck has went and met with them actually when he got suckered into the treasurer position that he thinks he got suckered into. He did take the time to go meet with them, and he was very impressed and enjoyed his meeting with them. I have to deal with him kind of often, and she is always absolutely awesome to deal with. Yeah, exactly.
Well, did you call on? We're good?
Yeah, we're good for budget workshop number 1.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Board, I present to you the first workshop for our EDC budget for fiscal year 2025. I did want to provide an overview of what we're going to be talking tonight. Kind of just want to put the budget first in some kind of a programmatic framework. I kind of think of it as a policy document, how that informs our work over the year. Then we'll kind of look at budget highlights from an operating expense perspective and then a project and incentive perspective. And then we'll close it out with some questions and discussion, if any. Moving on to programmatic goals, again, kind of using the budget as a roadmap. Next slide, please. But to accomplish a number of kind of core tenets of what, not only what I think of as EDC kind of goals and objectives, but kind of what state law kind of dictates in terms of how we expend the sales tax dollars, what our limitations are there. But we kind of look at EDC work across 4 buckets, and that is creating primary jobs by attracting investment, expanding the local tax base, kind of looking at those local jobs and investments as economic multipliers, and then enhancing the quality of life for Cleveland. Pavilion project being a perfect example of that. Other projects that I've taken on over the years, and then lastly, more in an assistance and advisory role, but to assist with workforce development. And really, that's collaborating with our education partners and K-12 and higher education and community college, and the Texas Workforce Commission as needed. But kind of that's just the lens for which I kind of view our activities and then how we use the budget as a policy document to accomplish those goals and objectives. But I want to start off with highlighting the revenue. And Pam will help me out if you have any questions or if I misspeak about any of this. But overall, looking at sales tax, looking at a healthy 4% increase from the current fiscal year, the adopted amended budget. So that is going to project to about approximately $833,000 for fiscal year 25. Other revenues for the EDC is also interest, some of our investments. 13% increase from the current fiscal year, based on the year-end projection for that, which is overall from year over year from FY23 to FY25, that jump will be a 65% increase, and that's really attributed to moving our investments from prosperity to tax pool, and Pam's financial acumen there really came through.
I'm sure glad I'm talking good about Pam already. Just saying.
And again, at any point, I should have said this to begin with, but this is meant to just guide our discussion. And if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in. You don't have to save those for the end. I'm going through this really in the order of the long form budget. I think we also provided the portrait form, but I'm using the landscape kind of layout, which has it in a different order. But again, now we're looking at operating expenses, starting off with professional services. For legal publications, looking at an increase there. Coming from nothing really, $0 in recent fiscal years, but looking to allocate at least $500, as I think there will be some needs for legal ads for various public hearings that we'll have to hold to enact certain policies or adopt certain programs or for incentives or anything like that we'll have to do with the city or the EDC. So it's important to allocate for those expenses. Accounting and auditing, looking at a gradual increase in the cost for annual services there, so accounting for an additional $500 for that expense. And then some good news, decreasing some costs in terms of the administrative city expense that we pay to the city, mainly attributed to the non-payment of rental facilities, office space. The city staff, between Pam, Scott, and Alice, will still continue to provide ancillary and support services to the EDC.
Is that what the 21,000 is? Is for
Correct.
staff?
That's
Yeah.
for staff overhead. It was basically 1,000 a month for office space. That's what they were allocating, and then the rest was really kind of overhead ballpark figures. I think they probably put in a lot more work than that over the year, but it's just an attempt at some cost recovery.
Okay, is that paid as overtime or as a stipend?
No, that's just it's not
It's
a
just a-
official check for us, it's just reimbursing the city for what they pay probably.
Okay.
We just estimate 10 hours for each department.
Okay.
So there's a whole lot more than what you're actually paying for. That's just kind of an easy number to allocate 10 hours for Alice and Juanita, Pam, Tiffany, and our portion of assistance.
Is that being in line where it's supposed to be? And I'm sorry, did you have something else? Rick?
No, I was just trying to clarify if it was like hourly pay or a stipend or what it looked like, but it sounds like it's just a reinvestment, you're just like, it's just a reinvestment, you're still getting the same pay, we're just paying
Correct.
additionally for your services, similar to what happened with Robert's position.
Correct, but my question is how much of that is truly, in other words, are we shorting the city some? And the only reason I'm asking this is I have to deal with the city all the time in regards to EDC, and then we have the same issue with the airport. So what I'm curious about is if we're allocating 10 hours per department, is that enough? Is that where it's supposed to be? I can shake her head, no way. That kind of seems a little low. Is that where it needs to be, and do we need to increase that? Remember, every dollar that we take away from the city, whether it's the airport, whether it's Public Works taking something away from Pam's office, or whether it's the airport taking something away, that's a dollar that the city does not have. And as anybody is aware, the position the city is in currently with the fire department, just on and on and on and on. If we are really only allocating 10 hours, because I can tell you that there's departments that have spent more than 10 hours in a week on quite a few different things with us. So,
So, I mean,
I'm just curious.
Alice
I know
does
for
it,
it,
and now,
it's probably-
now Amelia
And
will do
I'm
it.
completely honest, I don't document the time I'm there all the time, so it just goes into it. It's also accounts payable, which isn't even included in this, we don't.
Well, Pam, give us an idea. I mean, she's already said that it's definitely more than 10 hours. Alice, is it 15? Give us an idea, because a 10 does seem a little low.
Does it change if that is full-time director?
well, another thing is
That's a good question.
We've gone through
Scott.
a lot of transition this last year, so we started doing this last year for the first time. We did it with the EDC, we're working on doing it with the airport, again, because it's an outside organization that's paying, so allocating something back to those groups to help pay for to offset the cost of the city. It's just an estimate. We've had a lot of transition at the airport, so we spent a lot of hours at the airport. We've had a lot of transition within EDC and everything as well. So right now, I think that's a good number to use because in a year or two, I think the airport's going to be running a lot smoother than it is today, just because it's going to be more of we're used to it. It's just a normal operation, and even EDC. I think once we make this transition over time, we're going to be flowing a lot better. We just have had a lot of transition, and so I think even looking at this last year for any of those is not a good idea.
Rachel had just asked, and Amelia was answering Rachel at the same time. Yes, it's going to eliminate some of it with him here. He would like to see EDC keep money and not give it to the city. That's what he's just telling me. But at the same time, I understand that. I just want to make sure that, the city gets shortened. I know at the airport, we went over this with the airport on cutting grass, on maintenance, on so on, so on, so on. And if they're not getting reimbursed for that, then that's coming out of the city's money, where the city needs it worse than anyone. So,
The thing is too, if they're working on more stuff and they're taking away from city time, so to me, it needs to be allocated correctly, so. I mean, if y'all feel good with this number right now, then it's something maybe we can revisit later.
Well, I mean, even as things get going on, and we talked about this, you know, like right now, we're doing budget, so you're gonna have the finance team and I here. But on a regular basis, if there's nothing for myself or finance or Roger to be here, there's no reason for us to be here. That's Emilio, your director, he's gonna be able to answer all the questions, take care of everything. So we don't have to be here. We've been here every month for, you know, the last year, so in this kind of capacity assistant, but that right there could be an hour or two or three, or, you know, however long the chairman leaves last, but, you know, that right there is time that we're gonna be able, so there's no reason for that as we make this transition to where we're not even gonna have to be here as much, because Roger doesn't need to be, Ashley doesn't need to be here every single meeting. So if there's something that involves Public Works or Civic Center or Stanza Park directly, then yes, they need to be here so we can answer those questions and talk about it and discuss it.
Well, and usually Roger's, something's on there, usually for Roger almost everything. But if we can look at that, I know kind of like what Mike was just saying, if we could look at that, it's May, you know, I know we have a couple of months, but if we could look at that a little bit better to where if it does need to be realigned, maybe we could, that would be a portion to realign if it needs to be realigned. Is everybody good with that?
Because also this is covering Danielle, city secretary, it's covering everybody's cost. This cost isn't, this is nothing big with
No,
No, so, well, that's gonna be, I mean, part
that's
of,
separate.
That's
part of it,
separate.
their salary's gonna be partially paid out of
Okay.
EDC and development
So that's,
services, so.
when I see administrative, I know she does a lot of administration.
Correct,
So
correct.
When I see administrative, I'm thinking everything, I know she works in the city also, so.
No, this is outside of their department.
Yeah, in the provided budget, we don't detail the salaries and benefits and things like that, but, that is something new with this FY '25 is for my position to be split and then to add, half our portion of Danielle's position, so that we can both dedicate, you know, our half, part of our positions to EDC work, to alleviate some of this.
So we're, just so we're on the same page, if I'm understanding it correctly, what we're talking about here on this hours per week is in addition to what we're already paying them. What we're already allocating, if I can say this correctly. So we allocate funds for Danielle and for
Correct.
Emilio. In addition to that, this is in addition to that. And I just know from dealing with them on a lot of this stuff that that doesn't cover. Currently, it's not covering it. And someone is going to be eating that money. And the only person right now eating that money is the city of Cleveland. And they can't afford to eat anyone's money. So that's why I would like it to get looked at a little bit better. And let's get it down. Let's get it down to where it's more accurate. And if it's 15 hours or 20 hours per department, we need to pay our share. We need to pay our share just like everybody else needs to pay their share. I don't mention cities' names or anything,
I agree wholeheartedly. You're gonna have to hire somebody
but yeah, absolutely.
to do this anyway, so, I mean, I just think it should be allocated for me. And I know they're trying to help us out, but
Well,
right,
and-
wrong is wrong, so.
And we're on the same page, and helping us out is not, I don't think, should be in that category. The city needs more help than we do.
No, I think everybody's in agreement that whatever that fair share price is.
We need to pay it.
We need to make sure we pay it.
Okay, go ahead.
Moving on to professional services, continued other professional services. This nearly $28,000 increase in the current fiscal year is to obtain services from a consultant to complete a strategic community assessment. Again, that goes to what I was speaking to earlier, this kind of the lack of strategy and strategic goals and objectives for our target industries, industrial clusters, and they'll look at things, they'll evaluate our proximity to other markets, other clusters of industry, where we are kind of in the geographical context of us and how it relates to other critical mass of other activities, and they would produce kind of with objective and professional opinions on the kind of activities that we should be concerning ourselves with, what types of industries we should pursuing and what sectors of those industries. It was very detailed, very specific, based on demographics and kind of best practices. So without that, we're not flying blind, but I don't think we're doing as good of a job as we can be. It would make us more productive because it's kind of cohesive and concise to what we really need to be concerning ourselves with. So that's what this $27,500 is for, would be for that expertise to inform our business attraction and retention efforts.
A quick question on that, and I think that is a good plan, but will that allow itself for, I understand they're going to come in and look at the numbers. They're going to look at where we fit in different demographics, what's around us. I get all that. They're going to have a targeted list of kind of a strategic plan of where we go. But is any of that going to allow for input from the board? Because believe me, I can promise you, every one of us here, I promise you, we could all give 10 things that we get contacted about all the time of our city needs X, Y, Z. And I just want to make sure that as we're building a strategic plan that we have input at this level of what needs to be on that list too.
Yes, absolutely. So it would include stakeholder engagement across multiple levels. Of course, the EDC as the kind of benefactor of that, and of course, council and other county leaders, community leaders, business leaders, commerce, chamber of commerce. So we'll engage a broad spectrum of stakeholders, but the EDC will definitely have its opportunities to influence that as well. Yep. Of course. Moving on to property services. Industrial park maintenance, this is typically, or has historically been for infrastructure that we're paying to support out at the airport. And so that's something that we'll be moving over to the city of Cleveland. Most likely the water and sewer fund. I think it's, we're supporting infrastructure, well infrastructure out there. So that's the most likely fund to absorb that cost. But I will leave that up to Pam and Roger and Scott to ultimately figure out a way to account for that. That's why they're going to increase our admin costs.
Well, what brought that up was when I got on EDC, I noticed that we were paying for that, and the benefit was being received from the city. So here you go, like Mike and I were just talking about, everybody's got to pay their fair share. So that fair share should be being paid by the city, not by EDC or the airport. So there's two sides to every coin. So we are no longer going to be paying that.
What was the cost?
Oh, it's a few $100 a month. It added up to $3,600 a year or something like that, wasn't it? Around there, 3,000 or 4,000 a year, something.
6,000.
6,000 a year. And go ahead. So, yeah, we shouldn't. We've been paying it for a long time, and so that's why.
Storage fees are about to go up.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
Pay your fees, man.
Next. They're going to get it somewhere or another, aren't they?
This next one probably jumps out to most of the board, about $300,000 in new expenditures. And this is new and uncharted territory, but again, this is part of kind of changing things up at a new perspective and trying different things, but in terms of kind of strategically controlling, acquiring and disposing of real estate around the city, even outside of the city, again, for strategically leveraging the EDC in Cleveland, and some new development opportunity and how to facilitate that. It's easier to do that when you control the property interest. So these funds would be towards those efforts. But the cost of real estate these days, as you all are aware, it requires some resources to do that.
Can you give an example of what type of development you would pursue for if you had land available? I understand having land available is part of the EDC plan through the EDC trainings that I was able to attend in the fall. But aren't we currently trying to push to fill the BNSF park with industry? So should we focus on that and getting industry there and then go to the city owning some things? Because we have site-ready sites by supporting BNSF.
Yes, and so with BNSF, it's a little tricky there because they're really focused on rail-oriented development that will kind of guarantee them income in the future. So they're, I don't want to say declining, but more discouraging development that would otherwise be a good fit for any other industrial or business park, but it doesn't have that rail component. It's not really in line with kind of their objectives there. So this would be for property, other industrial property, that like a data center or some other type of logistics or even small scale or advanced manufacturing. But even on the other end of the spectrum, retail, so putting together some kind of prominent retail sites, more along corridors or thoroughfares where retailers want to be. And this would involve obviously looking at our current real estate holdings between the city and the EDC, evaluating land swaps or exchanging property to leverage what's next to things that are on the market and what we can do with off-market transactions. So it's a whole strategy, but that's an example of things we'd be pursuing.
And will the community be invited to give input on having this as a new line item at such a high price tag? Like, I don't know, public hearing type of input, or is that?
Yeah, so we do have a public hearing that we do as part of these, the budget adoption.
Okay.
And then, of course, this is a component of the city's overall budget. And so there'll be public hearings associated with that adoption as well. So.
And there was a timeline. Do we know when the first public hearing is? I know, I think last month you gave us a timeline.
It's in July.
It's in July, and we'll push that out to let people know and advertise well about the public hearing.
Yeah, we do what's kind of mandated by statute in terms of what we're required to post with agendas, but I think we can look at other strategies for increasing awareness on that.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any certain areas that you're looking at right now?
I mean, it depends when, between retail and industrial, they look at it and require different things. But again, initially it's going to be where do we have existing kind of assets, existing properties, and how can we looking at what's on the market and how we can package that, assemble that, and leverage it to the best of our abilities. So I don't have specific sites for you at the moment. We have a list of city-owned properties working with Liberty County Appraisal District to get their parcel data. We're going to get that into GIS and then kind of geographically see where all of our properties are on a map, and then compare that with MLS to see what other active listings are. And then we bring this to you all obviously in the executive session. We're able to talk about real estate matters in that form. If they're kind of delicate situations in terms of buyers or sellers. So it wouldn't be approving this line item isn't the last thing to ever hear about this. Obviously there's going to be many touch points in terms of y'all's involvement or even the city's involvement on this.
So correct me if I'm wrong, wouldn't that follow the same procedures as, because even though we have a public hearing for our budget, for all these different projects we'll be working on, when it actually goes to fund the project, we'll have to have a public hearing for that spend.
Yeah, depending on the procurement thresholds, we would need to, there are certain thresholds, if exceeded, that we'd need to bring that before the board for consideration, and then ultimately council's vote on that. if it exceeds certain thresholds. Probably, if it's a sizable property, yeah, that would have to be brought before it for y'all's consideration.
Well, we're gonna have I don't know if we're gonna have a meeting or executive meeting or a workshop, but we're gonna have something that's we can sit down and kind of look at the areas that we wanna push and pursue, because like right now, I mean, if you go through town, you see the south end of town is just blown out. There's nowhere else to develop in that area. So we do have other areas that we need to look at to try to force traffic to build the city back up and that type of thing. So I'm just curious if we're gonna have something to sit down and kind of discuss and look over what we're interested in doing.
Yeah, I think that's an exercise that's well worth our time in terms of probably a workshop. In terms of once we have our data of the city and EDC property holdings, and where to focus that energy. I think that's something we can bring back in a workshop setting.
Okay.
Good idea.
Just making some notes here. Okay. Moving on to other services. Beginning with promotional marketing, only proposing a 3.75% increase from the current fiscal year allocation. And this really keeps pace because we're limited by state statute on how much we can allocate specifically for promotions and marketing. So we're kind of capping out on that, and we're keeping, it's basically tied to a percentage of your sales tax. So we're keeping pace with that. In the past, I think, looking at, you can look at the budget on projected year end and say, well, y'all haven't done much year over year in marketing and promotions, and to that, I can't speak to that. That's the actions of my predecessors, but I can speak to kind of some of the initiatives that we're looking at as a staff to elevate the profile of Cleveland and generate interest from an investment climate standpoint. But things like video production, an aggressive advertising campaign across multiple platforms for publications and things that are viewed by site selectors and people that are either influenced or involved in the decision making for citing projects or site selection, that kind of thing, business journals, physical, go ahead.
I'm sorry, would that include a website? I know that the prior board from December, we attended a training that talked about websites, and in December we had approved moving forward with the website. That was like a big thing in the training. That's the first place that everyone goes. And so part of that discussion when they approved in December was going into marketing because it's an expensive website. So is that part of marketing in the plan for moving forward with an updated independent EDC website?
So as staff, when I got here, I considered those things and talked about those things with staff. From what I took away is that from the board, there was consensus that we should invest in the current website and doing all that we can in terms of enhancements and improvements to that site with our current provider to really leverage that, because we're really underutilizing it and under leveraging it right now. So we'll work with Civic Plus. We have an update. We're due for an update, and we're going to be doing a premiere package, I believe it's called. But that'll get us to where it has a different look and feel, not unfamiliar to the city website, but it'll be kind of laid out differently. And we can really mirror what other successful economic development organizations do with their website. And I was really more of the opinion that we should, do something like the Golden Shovel or something that is a little more aggressive and in your face.
That was what was approved in December, because I remember the current one was one of the three.
So, I'm happy to discuss that, but I guess our approach was we can give some care and feeding to this current website and then evaluate, and in a year's time we're not satisfied with that, then we can allocate, other expenses to enhance the website with different provider. Again, that's just the consensus I took away from recordings and staff conversations and meeting recordings and other things. So,
And that would be through the marketing line item though.
well, that would be through a separate line item for website development, which is later in the slides, but it's also it's part of the other services. It's after Allies Day, so it's promotion and marketing Allies Day and then website development. And that's why we're projecting a decrease. We're proposing one from 10,000 to 6,000 because they require 10,000 to work with our current provider.
And it's on your next page, if you see it there.
Now, question, will you be working, because this is something we also discussed at previous meeting before, that our EDC director will be working with the city partners, one reason we stay with them, that the EDC director will be working with them, getting our website up to date. Now, is that something you're going to be doing or not going to do?
No, yeah, that's what this proposal is regarding. Again, we're on marketing right now, but on the website development item, that is for us, staff, myself, and Danielle, as a project team to coordinate with Civic Plus on a complete refresh of our EDC website. So we schedule a kickoff call. We talk about the deficiencies of the current website and what enhancements we're looking at. We probably direct them towards other EDC websites that we really like or we feel do a good job telling the story. And then we'd ask them to come back and mirror that and kind of just go through every page and cranny of the website and flag anything before we go public with it. But that's more or less the process of what we'd be looking at.
Yeah, I've got a couple of statements on that, but I'll wait till we get there.
Okay. So on marketing, some physical branding collateral for kind of in-person events like table wraps and other things, useful promotional items to increase our awareness at industry events like thumb drives and other kind of giveaways, promotional items, and then some contingency for a community branding project, which is something that we're pursuing with the current fiscal year funds. We're still evaluating some options with that, but really want to leverage those funds with the work that we're doing with the wayfinding and signage because they were proposing to do some kind of efforts in terms of refreshing the city's logo, and so we're kind of at a juncture of do we need to, if we're going to do it, are we going to do it, rip the Band-Aid off, or are we going to settle for the current logo? And so that's a debate that we're kind of testing with. That's it from promotions and marketing. If you have any questions. Okay, moving on to other services continued at Allies Day. You'll see this as a complete 100% decrease of the current fiscal year allocation, and that's really from collaborating with colleagues here in the city and understanding that it's, we haven't done it in a while, but past previous iterations of it just didn't yield the desired kind of return or output that the EDC was maybe hoping for. So we're really looking at taking those resources and investing them into something else within the budget, and I'll cover that in the planning target analysis phase later on in the presentation. But I don't know if there's any questions about Allies Day, but if there's not, I'll go forward to website development, and we're kind of discussing earlier, so I think we're all up to speed on it if there's any questions.
Yeah, I just had one on the website. We're on the website now. I remember we talked, Scott, a few meetings ago, and I agreed that we found out that our current website was being vastly underutilized. And I think the talk was then, of course, let's get our director in, let's work with staff. Danielle's already done a fabulous job of adding more content to it. And so I see on here evaluate website efficiency for 1 year before assessing other options. I think that's smart because again, there's a whole lot that we're getting our website up to. My big question is, you just said we're fixing to do an upgrade with Civic to a different platform to kind of give you some of the niceties that you see at other EDCs. Do we know what those funds are? Should we be decreasing?
Yeah, this figure is going to be able to, it's going to allow us to do that upgrade. So that includes the premium.
That upgrades the premium upgrade.
Yes.
So I just didn't want to sell ourselves short by doing the decrease. If we need to keep it more flat at the 10K instead of coming all the way down to 6, if that's what it needed to do that upgrade and to give us some of those benefits.
I think they've already priced it out.
Yeah, good. No, that's good. That was my question,
And that is what we discussed before, was if we recall, as a board, I understand what Rachel's saying back in December, or whenever it was, but after that, we had discussed as a board, and we're pretty much all on the same page on giving it a year with the new director to see where we were going to be, and that's where it's at on the website. And I think it went from the 10 grand down to the 6. After he did his pricing on it. Anything else on the website? Nope.
Moving on to other services continued, training, meals, and travel. This does account for a 75% increase from the current fiscal year allocation. Some factors to consider in this particular price is the addition of personnel, so including Danielle in this equation, and she wants to gain more experience in economic development, so that's going to require some additional resources and training tools, so that's accounted for in that. Also for my own certification maintenance, there is some training that is required to maintain my PCD certification. And this also accounts for board member training and travel to the TDC conference at least 1 year. And then any participation in trade shows or business attraction kind of efforts, that would be also informed by this increase. Moving on to planning target analysis. We have previously budgeted $0 for this in recent or past fiscal years. This $45,000 increase is really with the objective of obtaining the services of a retail recruitment firm. There's many advantages to utilizing a firm that is engaged in this type of work. Mainly there you're kind of insight into the industry that is very, very kind of locked doors and kind of exclusive kind of club of commercial real estate. But they have the connections, they know other brokers, developers, retailers, so they're really kind of our conduit to that world of retail development, and so doing it without them is really, we'd have to just hire an additional staff person that is a full-time job. And then they also, the benefit of this is in terms of, I just talked about trade shows, they would assist us with organizing those meetings and facilitating those meetings at these events, taking all that legwork off the staff. So a lot of benefit in this service.
And I agree, but I have one question. Would there be any overlap, or does one help the other when we talk about this assessment and other professional services we're going to be doing on getting an overall strategy? Does that dovetail into and go along with this kind of targeting, or are they totally separate?
They are separate in terms of the community assessment is going to be more broad and based off of really industrial sectors, where this is going to drill down into actual retailers by brand or service or type.
So the professional service is much more aimed at goes in just the industrial sector instead of the retail sector.
Right.
And which companies are you using for these two?
So we go to market for that, but really there's a couple. I've had the benefit of working with a firm called Retail Strategies in the past. They're pretty reputable, well known. There's Navi Retail. Those are really the two that I'm familiar with. So, but that's what we're looking at. And there is a level of assessment and studying and boots on the ground stakeholder engagement involved with the retail improvement firm. They'll do that as well. But obviously they're tailored and kind of, their scope is much narrower in terms of the retail environment.
And that's really where I was going with my original question way back when we were talking about the planning and strategy, is really was a lot more on that retail side of things that believe me, we hear almost more than anything. So that's good. So that separates them out into two total targets.
Excellent. Looking at supplies and other expenditures and depreciation, starting with postage, looking at an increase from the current fiscal year. This is unknown, but I think we anticipate to do more with business attraction, recruitment, and retention and expansion efforts, and that involves kind of sending things at a promotional level, or even just kind of at a mail and communication level, but also as it relates to property acquisitions, there might be some things there, some cold mailing initiatives like that we just haven't accounted for previously. Looking at board relations, hadn't budgeted anything in the past, but as Angela was here last meeting, looking at business cards, if there's a desire for apparel, we want to recognize board members with awards, if anyone leaves the board or anything. So looking at an allocation of $500 for board relations. I don't have any skin in that game, but we do want to make sure you all have resources as well. Looking at office equipment, between this EDC budget and development services budget, I think sufficient resources in there, so we're looking at a 75% decrease in office equipment. And then depreciation is something that has come out of previous audits, and it's just an accounting exercise really, and Pam is looking at me and probably doesn't want me to throw this to her, but if there's any questions on it, but it's just really accounting for previous improvements that were EDC funded, and then those were, ownership of that was transferred to the city. If you have questions, Pam would be a great resource on that. Moving on to the projects and incentives portions of the budget highlights. Looking at infrastructure, starting off with airport infrastructure. We recently received some pricing for some previously discussed kind of ideas about improvements at the airport as it relates to some T hangers, installing those. And so this is really to support their general aviation needs, and obviously also encourage some revenue generation for the airport. I believe that if we did allocate this fund, it would be contingent or based on the understanding that we'd be capturing that revenue for repayment until that loan had been paid up.
Do we know at that price tag how many hangars?
Well, it's not actually hangars, that price, it's kind of, not actually hangars. What that is we had tried to, basically we tried to figure out a better cost analysis for, because hangars were going to be a couple $1 million. So what we did was a lot of airports do T, whatever you want to call them, there's so many names for them, but T covers. It's just an awning, it's a T cover, and it's a row of them that you can park your plane under, and it's a carport for an airplane, basically. And they rent them out anywhere from, probably 150 a month to 250 a month or so. And so for cost and the benefit of it, we kind of figured this might be a better avenue. I don't know on the 600,000 because I haven't seen the report yet. Do you have it, Roger, by chance?
I believe it's one 204-foot long section of cover.
So that would be, divide that by, probably 204 divided by 40. So I'm guessing is that 10? Is that right? Because that would be double.
Yeah. Pull it up like that.
It should be 10, and so I know where Rachel's going to go next. So that would be,
At 150 is 18,000 and 250 is 35.
and we had kind of discussed about 200, and so around 16,000.
200,
Around 200 each.
oh, 200 each.
And we have,
How much? 24,000?
If we get them.
Well, I'm just doing this, I don't know how many it is, Rachel, I'm just doing it off, I know how wide they're gonna be and the size they should be. And if that's the length, and you do them back to back, so 5 and 5 is 10, so it's kind of how I'm coming up with my 10 number. Go ahead, Rachel.
it's a significant amount compared to prior years. And then I do recall attending one of the airport meetings, and there was a conversation. I don't know if y'all have come to a consensus since that time, because it's been a minute since I attended. I remember the director, Dickie, said something about not knowing how many how many you can actually house with the runway and things like that. Like there was a question about how many hangars or covered spacings, whatever it is, to even include because of your capacity of your airport without having a flight deck that was
So we
elevated and such.
could build hundreds if we have plenty of room out there. We have plenty of land, plenty of everything. But what he was referring to specifically was these T-ports that were, where the asphalt was already there. We have enough room to build X amount on that, in that area, is what Dickie was referring to specifically. And what we were looking at prior to this was the 2.8 million that it was gonna cost to build 30 actual T hangars. This is an avenue that we were looking at doing just to alleviate that amount of money that we need to spend right now. And something that we could possibly do now instead of trying to spend that kind of, the 2.something million that it was going to be.
I got a question, on those T-style hangers, is there an option at a later time to
Close them?
enclose them and make them a full hanger?
Good question. And the short answer is, I'm hoping so. I have not, this has just happened recently. I know it doesn't sound great by saying this, but I've not been included in seeing this bid yet. We just got this bid, as you can tell. They're trying to figure out even how many it is. So they literally just got this bid, either I think yesterday or today, wasn't it? And so what the?
It was before the weekend.
Yeah. And I'm literally giving you the numbers just off of what his measurements were. I know how big they're gonna be.
Yeah, well, I was just
But
curious.
yeah, I'm hoping that's what they did, is I'm hoping they built it to where if we did want to enclose them later, that would be obviously, I would hope be a really good option to be
Yeah,
able to.
because the cost would be
Minimal.
minimal. Yeah.
Oh, it'd be minimal, absolutely.
Sure, your
Just
biggest-
add walls and
Your biggest expense is gonna be the door.
doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. That would be the biggest expense. Otherwise, it's 10 in secret.
Then I went out there the other day just to look and see what we're talking about putting the pavilion at, and I see planes already taxied or parked in that area, so you have a lot of space out there that you can already utilize.
Oh, yeah, and
Right there.
that's why I had said, let's not do the pavilion, because we got we've got over almost 100 people on a waiting list now, you know, and I know this isn't getting them their T hangers, but reality is, a lot of people don't want to hear this, but we don't have the money to do T hangers right now. We just don't. EDC don't, airport don't, we don't have the money to do that. This is an alternative that would create the money and I mean, everybody that's out parked right now on that ramp, they'd move into it right this second. How many is it?
It's 10,
10,
30 by
that's
20.
Yeah, I understand, and it's been a conversation for a long time, even before
Oh, yeah.
I've been involved in it anyway. It's just, it's a high price tag, and I don't know if we came up with the number or not. I know there's also a need, and I've been looking at where we're also investing in parks for the community development, and I'm seeing lower numbers, like 0 for park maintenance or 25,000 for Stansel Park, which I know we've had discussions with them about that being much higher. I'm just trying to figure out if that's the right allocation amount for the airport, or if we should, you know, do some with the airport and do some with the parks or Stansel Park more than one.
Well, what this is doing is, now the money that this brings in each month is coming right back to EDC, the entire amount. So that's what he's saying. The difference is I've said, and I'll say it again, that EDC does not need giving money to the airport. The airport, and just my opinion, but they don't need to be giving money to the airport. If they're going to loan the money to the airport and it get paid back at 100% of revenue, then yeah, absolutely, I can see that.
And I see that, but maybe we loan like a little this year and the following year and the following year, so
Well,
that we
you know-
don't take away from maybe the parks or something also as far as the allocation.
Unfortunately with this, as Mike's going to tell you, like this is 10. This is only building 10. Yeah, that's all you're building here is 10. So if you cut this down, the price isn't going to drop that much. Your price per square foot.
It's gonna be probably 2/3 of what this costs us to build Anthem
Yeah.
versus doing the whole thing.
So it would be rented at the 10 at 150 to 250 a month, so it might bring in 2,500 a month in rental. And so that 18,000 to 30,000 that was quoted, that's for the year?
That's for the year, yes.
Okay, so that will take a little while to recover from the initial investment. And like I said, I know that there's a need for it. I just, how do we allocate for the needs of the parks and the community, which has been expressed repeatedly to our board, and even through the recent, with Stansel and some of the updates also.
Something that I like about Stansel, it is a lower number than, you know, what we were looking at whenever we brought them in to talk about Stansel Park, but it's to support a feasibility study. So it's you know, a feasibility study, so we're not going into it, you know, because whenever we were coming and talking about it, it was kind of all over the place. That $25,000 is a start, so we can get a plan, so that we can come back the next year and maybe allocate more money there, but we need a plan first. So that small number with Stansel Park is actually going to go farther in the long run, in my opinion. Even though it's little now, we don't need to throw a ton of money at Stansel Park right now because we don't know where we need to go with it, essentially, if that makes sense.
And we have other parks and other park maintenance, so that's just one example, and that makes sense to look at the plan for it because it needs a lot. But like park maintenance is at 0. I don't know if that's, and apparently it's in 0, but we do some things with parks, correct? So why is our park maintenance at 0?
Well, that's accounted for in the general fund for the parks operations. So they do maintain the parks.
I'm sorry, are you looking at the page with the dollars? Which one is it?
Yes, and it says 0 for last year and this year and expected next year. It's park maintenance, it ends with 5272
Property services.
under capital outlay.
Hey, Roger, on that, do you have that printed on that? Because that 600 does sound a little bit high for 10 G.
Well, that's what
That's
Jaguar.
for the parks. Once the city, okay, so with EDC, once you guys contribute to the asset, like with the skate park, you were looking for the expense, when will this be paid? Well, EDC doesn't pay for that. EDC transfers the money to general fund, and then general fund pays for it, because at the end of the year, they have to reclass the expense, they have to remove it from the expense line item and reclass it as an asset, because even though although we're spending $50,000 on the skate park, at the end of the year, yes, that money is gone out of our account, but now the city has an asset worth $50,000. So the sports park maintenance, EDC originally did this sports park out here on 321,
But once the park was completed, the city took over the maintenance of that park. So that line item is on there, it can be removed now that it's zero cost. Until a line item is zero for about 3 years or however long, it still shows up on the budget because we have to account for those numbers, we have to make the bottom line count. I can actually remove this year now that this has zero all across. It will probably not even make it in the budget, but it's just, this is a draft.
Okay, so EDC contributes to the cost of
Building.
it, but once it's maintained, it's turned over to the city.
Which is like what John was saying about the electric bill, that will come off this year.
Okay.
That's something that was just not reallocated to the city.
Okay.
And the Stansel Park situation, on what Heidi was referring to, that is something that we've discussed the last time too. We want to make sure that feasibility study done on that to see, before we go spending, I think the last time we were looking at spending $200,000. And BJ Burton, if you remember, he wanted to ask for probably a little over $1 million because he felt like what we were going to do with the 200 was going to be a waste. And I think as a board, we kind of agreed with, with what he was wanting. So the feasibility study is going to, which we need. Come on, let's.
This is budget workshop 1, so that's one of those that we haven't even got the number.
Right.
We just threw a number in there. We'd asked for some quotes, so that number may change as we get those numbers in. But this is just for discussion purposes. I've done feasibility studies in the past, some of this, so I'm thinking probably in the $25,000 ballpark. We just kind of put that in there. It could be more, it could be less. But we've still got 2 more months of working on this, so we just wanted to put something in there as a placeholder for discussion. If y'all don't want to do it, we'll take it out. If y'all do want to do it, we'll leave it in there.
And as far as
continue to look for those numbers.
back to the line item real quick, let's get back on track here on the airport infrastructure of $600,000 increase. There's more to this number. I'm doing this number in my head, just like Mike's doing the number in his head. That doesn't equivalent to an awning. Like 200.
You got electric, you got.
Yeah, there's.
I know you have water there. I don't know,
Yeah.
some have and some don't, but.
There's something.
You got to have electric in it.
Bye, Roscoe. Bye, Roscoe.
I believe our expenses on that were just at about $500K, and so about $100K for contingency or related associated expenses.
Yeah, so that's.
So he's got the breakdown.
So the hangar itself is $337,000 and change. To install.
And is it hangar or is it just a carport?
Hangar, couple.
T-carport. T-covers. Okay.
T-covers.
Okay.
Now, to install that is $148,000.
Okay.
Subtotal, which is $485,786 and change. Rate for that is $18,000 with a grand total of $5,000.
And what about electrical and water? Well, you're not going to, it's got water. Already got
No
water.
electrical.
And that's for 10 spots. Work it out at $150 a month. $150.
$200,000.
That's a big price.
24,000 a year.
Yeah. So, is it possible we can get a breakdown? Don't get me wrong,
No,
I'm just
we
saying,
will.
if we're just looking at the number.
No, we will get a
Not
breakdown.
telling us anything, we need a breakdown of the actual.
Well, no, we will. This just happened 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So-
No, I understand that, but I'm saying,
That's
you smack a number on paper.
Right now, it's just a placeholder.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
Just
It's-
want to estimate.
We're
We're
gonna
just trying to put a number in there
vote
and cover
on
it.
Hang on 1 second.
I
Hang
got
on
a
1 second.
question. On the hangars itself, you said it was 2.8 million, and that was for how many hangars? 30 hangars, and how much do you rent those out for per month?
Yeah, I know where Mike's going with this. You're gonna average about 4,800 a month per 10 sets. So you're gonna be at almost 15,000 a month revenue.
So,
Per 10.
No, I know.
so what I'm saying though is,
I know where she's headed.
where she's going with, I just wanted to explain, so you can see the price, what you're getting for your money.
Yes,
Because
you're getting more bang for your buck with the hangars themselves.
But as far as cost wise of this structure, the carport or the plane board, you're still right there around the same
Yes.
profit margin or rental income for what you have, and then you still have the potential of closing these in to make hangars at a cheaper price down the road.
100%.
So.
And we have not bid this out yet. This has not been bid out. This is just an initial number.
This is just a quote.
Just a quote to put in here. We haven't bid it out. We haven't went anywhere else with it.
This is to get us a number that we can put.
Yeah, just a number to put in here for our initial budgeting is all this is. Like I said, the airport board, myself, we have not even seen it yet. This is 2 days or 3 days old in business days.
I think it's also important to point out that the airport is one of the only entities, right, that makes money. So it's important.
Yeah, too.
Water and sewer also.
Water and sewer, no, water and sewer as well, but I'm saying, you know, like we need to reinvest.
Well,
or reinvest.
it also brings people from out of the community into the community where they'll be spending money elsewhere, so.
I had to fly,
It pays for itself.
I had to fly to a municipality this weekend, and I coincidentally this morning looked at my bill from the weekend, from hotel to eating out and everything else, and for one day I spent $1,100. $1,100 in that municipality for one day. So
That's revenue that we can get.
yes, yep.
There's a bigger picture with the airport. than there is.
Oh, 100, yes. No,
Just the
yes,
cost.
you're correct. There's a lot bigger. Okay, next. Is everybody good with the airport? Yep.
But they just want that one clarified. How big of a wait list do you have?
We're up to almost 100, I think. We're right at 100 people. And a month ago, maybe a month ago, I don't know if it's been a month ago, we went through the entire waiting list that was over 100. We went through the entire waiting list and called every individual on that waiting list and narrowed it down to 88 or so, and that was like a month ago. And these are also people that the first thing they do when they call out there is, and I've answered the phone out there, I've done it, is you tell them how long the waiting list is and they go, oh, never mind, don't even put me on the waiting list. I mean, if we actually put everybody on the waiting list that called out there, you'd have hundreds of people. You know, these are people that are ready to pay right this second, and the new ones that call, they don't even want on it because it's going to be years before you could ever get through 88. I mean, years. I mean, we don't have a turnover out there of, have we had 3 in the last year? 3 people in the last year? Yeah, I don't know, we've had 3 maybe.
So the need.
Oh, it's huge. And if they would allow us to go outside money and that we could make money on it, I've told them very clearly that if they want $3 million, I will have them $3 million in 24 hours if I can make 12% interest on it. I mean, yeah. I mean, we can get that done too. You know, but honestly, as the city and representing the city, you don't want to do that if you don't have to. If you have money that you can use, then let's do it different ways. There's plenty of outside investments that we do.
We can make it 12%.
Absolutely, we can. And I bet Mike and I can come up with the money like real quick. In fact, I probably have a check right here in this book. Okay.
That's just why I was curious, just to figure out how everything works, where the money was at and the need for it, so.
Yes.
It's a desperate need.
Projects.
Looking at projects, this is a 100% decrease from this current fiscal year. Not to say that we're not doing any projects. This is just kind of this one is very vague, and so we're looking at just being more intentional, more programmatic with all of our projects and listing them out in the budget. So this is accounted for in other line items, but looking at downtown murals, we're actually looking at a decrease there, a reduction in the amount of murals per year, really in an effort to preserve and elevate the prominence of existing murals, but also wanting to avoid the oversaturation of murals around town. And I'm not an art critic, and I do like art, but I think we just need to be cautious that we can quickly oversaturate our scenery.
I know on the next agenda, Heidi Heidi had an idea, and she can probably explain it a little bit better, but you probably ought to look at it and get it on the budget, but was the downtown area on doing, for Christmas, doing a Christmas scene.
Window paintings.
Yeah, thank you. Window paintings. Go ahead.
No, because we just had talked a lot about, or, just different people throughout the city have talked about decorating for Christmas, and Christmas decorations are expensive. Our businesses, especially, with the economy right now, aren't going to be available or able to, just go out and just have a Christmas extravaganza. So maybe having someone come in and do window paintings down Main Street, or, just something small like that. But the cost of paying somebody to do something like that, probably $5,000 at the most. So my mom's a muralist, and it's pretty.
So I think, that's something that, we probably should look at to see about the, look at it, it'd be, it's, yeah, it'd be cool.
Okay.
And then sprucing up, everything for, who covers, like we do the lights, all of our city, I don't know if anybody notices, I do, but all of our city buildings during Christmas time have all the same lights on them. Who pays for all that currently, Scott? Or
The
Pam?
city did.
The city does, Public Works goes and puts them all
The
up?
city, yeah, Public Works put them on.
And who buys all the lights? The city does?
Yeah, we did. We bought them 2 years ago, I guess.
And then this year it'd be a little bit better if we could make sure, I think we had 1 or 2 city buildings that wasn't done the same? Or was it just one that wasn't done? You all remember?
I think they all were done, weren't they?
Were they all done this year the same? But,
Police station.
Police station, civic center, city hall.
but a little bit more for Christmas. I think it's something we should look at a little bit more. The window paintings for Christmas.
Library, city hall.
Oh, library.
Fire station, PD, public works.
And they're all the exact same lighting that ready?
Exact same
Okay,
lighting.
good.
We've got them all covered.
Yeah. All of them, except for the new one.
I think that with the window paintings and just sprucing up Christmas, it neat to go through the city and see all the lighting.
Well, that's the creation of a new logo?
Yeah, we'll be looking at that
Okay.
and creating new money to capture that holiday decor
Okay.
expenses. Okay. Looking at, we've already talked about it, so I'll be brief, but Samson Park improvements and really that allocation would be used towards a feasibility study to reimagine the park grounds and expo arena. Going on to a new line item as well, enterprise GIS platform. This is something we're evaluating that would really go a long ways in the grand scheme of things, but to improve our credibility as an organization in a city when people, the development community, so developers, builders, but also those that are involved in site selection decisions, site selectors, business owners, executives, and even those that, engineers, architects, they need access to our JS data, whether it's utility, line location, knowing what the zoning is, knowing kind of overall plans at parcel data. So all of that is very important when looking at sites, evaluating potential projects. So, and it also enhances staff's capacity and productivity when they can have a single reference point for that. So that's something that we're hoping to bring in. And this is really, 25,000 is probably on the higher end when we look at extrapolating that cost across development services and public works and any other development related department to kind of offset that. But we just want to, again, still evaluating what the total cost will be for that, so that number is a placeholder And I would say that it likely has opportunity to come down. So, looking at housing demolition and clearing, looking at a $70,000 increase from the current fiscal year allocation. And that's really just because we're anticipating, tackling this issue with a greater frequency, and seeing some successful demolition activities as we've engaged with the Belcher Street apartments and kind of carrying that execution of that substandard building program across the city very swiftly. So blight removal, again, just helps kind of move the needle on community aesthetics and community image, and really has an unknown and tangible effect on the community. Hard to put a price on that. No questions so far? All right, moving on to manufacturing and industrial incentives. Looking at general incentives with a $75,000 increase. And again, with all the work that we're going to be looking at, from website updates to kind of aggressive marketing and attraction efforts, it's one thing to get them at the table, but to actually get something, a deal across the finish line might require some resources in terms of incentives. So that's what that increase is attempting to account for. Looking at the facade program, as y'all know from earlier, there's been a lot of interest in that program, just in the, some of the advertising work that we've done to really promote that. Looking at a $90,000 increase, so bringing that up to $100,000 a year available. I would say that we kind of suggest this increase contingent on staff bringing forward an overhauled program policy and guidelines to increase the efficacy of the program and make sure that we're leveraging it to get the desired redevelopment outcomes of that, of those dollars. So it is going to be more funds available for matching, but I think we're going to be asking a lot more of applicants when they bring their projects forward, so that we're getting leveraging those dollars efficiently.
What can we do to add incentives for our local businesses? Not just the incentives for trying to attract business in that previous line item, but for something beyond facades, because a lot of our small business owners don't own the building that they are renting for their small business. But how can we do incentives for the businesses or small businesses themselves?
So I'll have to look at our current language for the facade program, but in this new reimagined facade improvement program that would be open to.
She's not referring to facades.
Well, I just want to say that even if you're leasing, you're still able to utilize those types of funds. Small business programs, it's hard to, there's a lot of kind of inherent risk with investing in those types of enterprises. I mean, I think they do a lot of good work in the community. Their impact is well appreciated, but they're just not as established as corporations or other industries. I think as a staff, we're going to evaluate creative ways in how we can assist small businesses and create incentive opportunities. But I guess with this work program and looking at everything, that's not the immediate focus, but not to say that that can't be a future focus and priority.
We did have at one point, I think this year, $25,000 as a separate incentives line item beyond the facade program, right? And so if we had the $25,000, I don't think we used that, and I don't think there's anything like a program policy or guidelines for that also. But is that something that we can go ahead and start including that in the future, but in this next budget year? Because there's many EDCs and that you can find online with examples of $5,000 grants or $2,000 grants or whatever it might be to the businesses directly themselves, even if it's similar to like a surprise patrol type thing where they're awarded some sort of grant. I would just like to be intentional with, they may or may not be able to do updates to the facade because it may or may not be approved by a landlord or something that they can do, but how we can be more inclusive of the business owners, be more supportive to where they feel more like tangible support through one of our programs, even if it's continuing the $25,000 amount and then the other increasing the other facade amount more than the $10,000.
So
we're increasing the $25,000 to $100,000.
That's
previous.
Right.
under that incentive.
Right, and I think that that's the difference between incentives of out-of-town, like we use the example of Buzzy Bee. However, if Buzzy Bee wants an incentive, like they currently have, it would become its own line item, right? So we're talking about something similar, but incentives for the businesses already here, not for the ones we're trying to attract. Beyond just the makeup of the facade. And many EDCs do it, there's lots of literature online.
We can look at the existing incentive line item to, those aren't pre-allocated dollars. I'm just saying, I was informing how we could use those incentives for new business attraction, but that's not to say that that's a solely
She's referring to current, she's referring to.
Yeah, and incentives, and they should be used for business retention and attraction, or business retention and expansion, which does, at its core, that those activities should be for existing businesses. So, again, it's just how we expend those funds throughout the fiscal year, but likely we'd have to bring those projects before the board on a case-by-case basis, just based on kind of our financial thresholds that we're limited to. So you would have the opportunity to influence those types of, that type of support for small businesses.
But we could create a program like the facade program where it has an application process and these are the steps for something similar to a small 3,000 to 5,000 per business, whatever it might be. We can create that in-house.
We could. I guess tying it to the budget process, we don't want to rush anything, so I feel like maybe we can bring that forth as an amendment or something once we have something nailed down that we feel comfortable with, so we don't rush into hastily creating a program.
I got a question on that program. What do you want to achieve with that? What do you want to use the funds for?
There's a lot of examples online. I mean, it was discussed previously with similar questions. It could just be to where they come up with, like a happy hour salad, whatever, to get more people out to their business. But it's something, it's similar to teacher grants where they come up with a creative project. I want to do this with students, and it does back into the students, and they're awarded a couple $1,000. You might have $80,000 worth of a grant request and only $15,000 granted by the Education Foundation. But I'm not going to like list specific things that it should be for. I will say that there's a lot of literature and neighboring EDCs that do these small micro grants for their businesses. So it's something they can look at examples of others just to be more inclusive of supporting our current small business beyond just the facade updates, just to support them, especially with our economy. Several of them are still struggling with the cost of everything and spending, so it's a small way to offer our support, and we can take neighboring EDC examples and say this is their program, this is what they do, and build something off of that.
So can you give some of those examples and
Hang on 1 second for me. Let's get one person going at a time here. Mike Buckley.
I would say, can you get us some of those examples so that we know what you're talking about? Because I don't mind helping a business out if they're looking to grow and do that, but if it's about somebody that's last leg and they can't afford to pay bills and they can't afford that means they're struggling. There's more issues there than just trying to grow. So if it's about trying to get an incentive to grow or to do an advertisement or something of that part, then I have no issue with that. And I would like to see the example that you have that you're looking to do with this extra money.
Yeah, because I think that's where the challenge is, because with the facade grants or the sign grants, they've got skin in the game, and they're actually improving the way our city looks. We're just helping them with that. So it's kind of defining where that, yes, we're helping with X, Y, or Z, but where's the, how, we want to make sure that it isn't something that is enhancing them to do either more business or something that's, how do we tie that to something tangible?
Right, and if they advertise, if they come up with a campaign that they want to advertise something creative, and so if they're giving 20% off on Thursdays or something, and that grant helps cover their expenses, but you're getting that back when people, again, like you said with the airport, come to town to take advantage of that, when they're spending money more so or going out more so.
I think the problem with that, though, is if I give a 20% discount on a Saturday for whatever, tire discount, the city is not getting anything for that. I am as a business. I'm the one getting the benefit of that. So the city's not. I think that we gotta, I don't really know, but I think that we gotta look at this as a case-by-case basis. There's a lot of things going on here. If you, I'm gonna agree with Mike. I mean, if one of my businesses is struggling and I need $3,000 to stay afloat, don't give me the $3,000. Because guess what? All you've done is prolong the inevitable. But at the same time, if, I can't think of something, for example, if we got flooded, if a business got flooded and then they need some help rebuilding or something, and we want to look at that. Then there's a lot of things you still got to take in place. Do they own the building? Do they lease the building? How long is the lease for? There's a lot of, insurance. How much insurance do they have? Why didn't they have insurance? But I think that the incentive, I don't have the answer, except that I think we need to be careful on what incentive programs we start. I met with Lacey over this specific thing just, I don't know, week before last. She's the EDC president of Dayton, and we went over the same thing. And I think we got to pick and choose. I don't know. I think Mike's right. If we had some more examples of exactly what we're wanting to accomplish on helping businesses that are currently in business but are wanting to promote or stay in business or stay afloat or.
Well, that was gonna be my next thought. I mean, if you've seen some of these that really that stand out, kind of let's bring them to the next meeting and we can look at that framework.
Absolutely.
And see how if that's something we can piggyback on.
Even before the next meeting, so staff can have an opportunity to evaluate and really dissect some of these programs. Because I think there's a philosophical kind of duty-bound element to the work that we do, which is kind of what I covered, the ground I covered at the beginning, which is to create jobs, primary jobs, and to expand the local tax base, whether that's property tax or sales tax. And so, things outside of those core tenets, it's a challenge, but we can get creative as long as we can kind of bring it full circle to how we're fulfilling those obligations.
Right, and the whole idea would be if they had things going on, then you have more people buying gas, shopping, eating out, which is like one of our slogans around that, like buy local, eat local, whatever it is. So supporting even that campaign within that, but I'll see what information.
Yeah, because there is stuff like the SBA, like they came today, that they can help out small businesses to get them where they need to be. So, I mean, if nothing else, we can start sending this stuff out if that's something that needs to be pushed. But, I mean, in the true definition of EDC, we're here to increase the tax base and bring business in and help grow and develop the city.
And retain business also.
Yes.
So, and hopefully that with the website enhancements, we'll have more resources for small businesses. That is an objective with that as well. Moving on the final thing, really, in terms of expenditures or initiatives, but this is kind of in tandem with that strategic community assessment. But what do you after that? How do you operationalize that? How do you? Because it's one thing again with that retail focus recruitment, but it's a whole nother foray in the world of kind of industrial manufacturing recruitment. So that's what this line item is really concerned with. So that's about $50,000 for that type of service. And then these things, I wouldn't say they're long-term. I think once staff kind of gains exposure and experience and connections with these players involved in these industries, then we can start to wean off of some of these consulting services, and there's kind of a more organic rhythm to some of this, to where we eliminate some of this third-party dependencies. But that's our proposal for you. Like I said, this is the draft. This is the first workshop. We have a lot of notes of some things to bring back for y'all's consideration. So there's any questions or anything that we can cover, I'm happy to answer them now.
I do have just 2 questions, and I might have missed it in a line item or within the PowerPoint here. One was about the parks, not just Stansel Park, but the other parks. I know that there was a discussion, at least with the previous board in this fiscal year, about adding walking paths to the current parks because there was a big feedback from the community, they wanted somewhere to walk. So is that something that the parks or like walking paths or that type of project is still being discussed, and is that still through EDC or is something someone else is going to cover?
So we're looking at that holistically. Yeah, so the city is looking at some opportunities for like safe routes to school, other kind of federal or state dollars to assist with providing some of that trail pedestrian connectivity and pedestrian safety, mobility enhancements through those funding avenues. I will say that, unrelated to that, but towards parks and quality of life, that the city staff earlier this month, we did meet with a firm called Burdett Associates out of Conroe, and they're going to be, they have an HVAC grant to do a strategic plan for parks and recreation. And so out of that will come some, high level kind of order of magnitude things for the city to consider and prioritize in the parks and recreation lens. So whether that's trails, facilities, things like that, organizational structure of the city parks and rec, personnel, that would come out of that strategic plan. And it'll be accompanied by an implementation plan that kind of brings those priorities in a certain manner. So community quality of life and recreation is a focus for the city. The EDC, being a type B, we're able to assist when appropriate, but there are some kind of guidelines that we adhere to with those things as well. So, but it is a focus for the organization at large.
Okay, and then my only other question, the second question, I know in the past the EDC has supported local events like the 4th of July fireworks show, which can have a hefty price tag, as well as like Treat Street and stuff. So is that something that comes out of marketing? Will EDC still be contributing to those community events?
We'll have to look at,
We have a sponsor, we have a sponsor for about this year.
Yeah,
We have a sponsor out of Solid.
yeah. But along those lines, I've addressed this with members of the community. Because the EDC have done things in the past or expended funds in the past for certain things, that doesn't mean that we can continue to do those things, whether it be gratuitous or kind of for special events. Like I said, we're limited on how we can use sales tax dollars, so we have to be careful in how we do so. So going forward, we might see some different activities or some kind of course correction on those things.
And the state's good about every legislative session changing some of those rules as well. We can use the EDC funds, we can use the hotel tax, so, which are typical things for funding programs.
Okay, anything else on fiscal year 2025 budget? Projects, we kind of went over, gateway, wayfinding signs, downtown murals, Stansel Park fairground improvements, and airport improvements. Any questions on any of those?
Is there anything we're missing? Any projects?
Any projects we're missing?
I know it was a little shoddy when we did the motion for the mural on the side of the museum. Are we moving forward with that? Everything?
Well, this is just a discussion, just a workshop, so that's something.
No,
No, I was talking about last
She's
meeting.
talking about something.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the mural on the side of the museum, were we all
If
good
you
with that?
drive by there, she's already started.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good
we
job.
take care of it.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's awesome, awesome, that's really good, that's awesome. The other thing I think we're working on is the fence, what, Heidi,
The library's gathering clothes, they need a fence, for their kids program. they can't go outside, so that might be coming towards us in a future agenda.
For the library events. Awesome. Got a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion from Chuck, second from Brent to adjourn. Any questions? All in favor?
Yeah.